The Silhouette Game, Episode 1. The second photo. Day 1. The challenge begins. Jason never believed in online horror trends. To him, they were just cheap thrills designed to rack up views and scare gullible people. But when he stumbled upon the Silhouette Game, something about it felt off. The post was simple: stand in front of a mirror in a dimly lit room. Take 2 photos. Compare them. If you see a shadow behind you in the second one, the game has begun. The thread had thousands of comments, people claiming they'd seen something in their second photo. Some even said they'd felt something behind them as they took the picture. But what made Jason pause was how many of those accounts were now deleted. It had to be a hoax. A dumb internet prank. But a viral one. And Jason needed viral content for his struggling TikTok channel. "All right," he muttered, setting up his phone. "Let's do this." The bathroom light was dim, just as the challenge instructed. His reflection stared back at him, expression unreadable. Click. First photo, normal. Just him, standing there, looking slightly amused. Click. Second photo, Jason's breath caught in his throat. There was something behind him. Day 2, the presence. Jason didn't sleep that night. He spent hours staring at the second photo, zooming in, analyzing every pixel. It wasn't just a shadow or a trick of the light. It was a shape. A silhouette. But the more he looked at it, the less human it seemed. The head was too round, the shoulders too slumped, as if it wasn't standing straight. And worst of all, there were no facial features. A trick. It had to be. Determined to prove it was just some weird lighting effect, he tried again. Click. First photo, normal. Click. Second photo, the silhouette was closer. Jason's stomach dropped. He deleted both photos immediately, turned off his phone, and left the bathroom. That night, as he lay in bed, he swore he heard soft breathing near his closet. Day 3, the rules changed. Jason woke up groggy, unsettled. He grabbed his phone out of habit, but the moment he opened his camera roll, his blood ran cold. The 2 photos he'd deleted? They were back. And in the second one, the silhouette was even closer. His hands shook as he checked the challenge thread again. He scrolled frantically, looking for answers. One comment caught his eye: if you see the shadow in your second photo, do not delete it. You have 7 days. Deleting the photos only makes it worse. Jason's stomach churned. No way. This was a joke. It had to be. But just as he was about to close the thread, he noticed something terrifying. A new comment had appeared. It was from an anonymous account. And it said his name. Jason, don't look behind you. A cold shiver ran down his spine. He turned his phone screen into a mirror and hesitantly tilted it back over his shoulder. There was nothing there. Or at least, nothing he could see. Day 4, the first warning. The day passed in a haze of paranoia. Jason kept checking his phone, but no matter how many times he deleted the photos, they always returned. At 11:47 p.m., his phone buzzed with a new message. Unknown number, stop trying to erase me. Jason's heart nearly burst out of his chest. He dropped his phone and backed away. The message deleted itself. Before he could even react. Click. A notification. A new photo had been added to his gallery. Shaking, he opened it. It was another selfie. But he hadn't taken it. And the silhouette? It was now right next to him. Day 5, the game plays back. Jason tried to run. He packed a bag, left his apartment, and crashed at his friend Luke's place. I just need a few nights away, Jason lied, his face pale. Some weird stalker stuff happening. Luke shrugged. Stay as long as you need, brother. That night, Jason left his phone in another room and tried to sleep. But at 2:47 a.m., he woke up to the sound of his phone's camera going off. Click. 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 Jason froze. His phone was in the kitchen. He was in the guest bedroom. Slowly, heart pounding, he walked to the kitchen. His phone was on the table, unlocked. A new folder had appeared in his gallery. Midnight photos. Jason tapped it. Dozens of black and white images. All taken from his phone. All from inside his room. And in the very last one, standing right over his bed, was the silhouette. Day 6, the final rule. Jason had barely any time left. He scoured the deep web, searched forums, tried to find anyone who had survived. One final post caught his eye: the only way to end the game is to pass it on. Take a photo of someone else with the silhouette behind them. If they look at it, the game resets, for them. Jason stared at the screen. No. He couldn't do that. He wouldn't. But then his phone buzzed. One final message. Unknown number, if you don't, I'll choose for you. Jason hesitated, but deep down, he knew. He had no choice. Day 7, the last photo. Jason went back to Luke's place. Hey man, let's take a quick selfie for the memories, he said, forcing a smile. Luke laughed. Bro, you good? Jason took out his phone. Click. First photo, normal. Click. Second photo, the silhouette was behind Luke now. Luke frowned. What's wrong? Jason took a deep breath. Nothing, man. He showed him the photo. Luke's eyes widened. What the hell is? And then Jason's phone went blank. The game had moved on. But Jason knew, it wouldn't be long before Luke. The Silhouette Game, Episode 2. The Midnight Reflection. Day 1, the photo that shouldn't exist. Luke had always laughed at Jason's paranoia. A horror challenge? Shadows in photos? It was all just some TikTok hoax. But then Jason had shown him the second photo. And Luke had seen it. The silhouette. Standing right behind him. A chill ran down his spine, but he forced a smirk. Nice Photoshop, brother. Jason didn't laugh. And that was when Luke started to feel uneasy. Day 2, the first sign. Luke was scrolling through Instagram that night when his phone buzzed. A notification from his gallery. File folder. New photo added to album. Frowning, he tapped the notification. A new picture was there, one he didn't take. It was the selfie Jason had taken earlier. And in the second photo, the silhouette was even closer. Luke stared at it, heart pounding. Jason must be pranking me. He texted Jason, real funny. Knock it off. But before he could put his phone down, Jason replied, I didn't send you anything. Day 3, the shadow moves. Luke decided to forget about the whole thing. But that night, he noticed something strange. In the bathroom, as he brushed his teeth, he caught movement in the mirror. His heart clenched. He turned sharply. Nothing. Just his reflection. But as he leaned in closer, his reflection's shoulders twitched. Luke hadn't moved. He backed away, switched off the light, and left the bathroom without looking back. Day 4, the breathing in the dark. At exactly 2:47 a.m., Luke woke up gasping for air. His room was dead silent. Too silent. And then he heard it. A slow, shaky inhale. A breath that wasn't his. It came from the foot of his bed. Luke clenched his eyes shut. It's in my head. It's just in my head. But when he reached for his phone, the screen was already on. A new notification was waiting. File folder. New photo added to album. Luke hesitated, then tapped it. It was another selfie. But this time, it wasn't Jason's. It was his own. And the silhouette? It was standing right next to him. Day 5, the mirror game. Luke refused to believe it. He went back to the original thread where Jason found the challenge. One comment stood out: the shadow only becomes real once you see it in the mirror. Luke felt his stomach drop. That night, he tested it. He stood in front of the bathroom mirror, heart pounding. He raised his phone, took 2 photos, and checked. First photo, normal. Second photo, the silhouette was inside the mirror now. Not behind him. Not in the room. Inside the reflection. Watching. Day 6, the last choice. Luke didn't sleep. He knew what was coming. Jason had told him, "You have 7 days." That night, he texted Jason, "How do I stop this?" No reply. Luke's phone buzzed again. File folder, new photo added to album. His stomach churned. But when he opened it, his blood ran cold. It was another mirror selfie. This time, the silhouette was smiling. And its head had started to turn toward him. Day 7, the game continues. Luke had one choice left. Jason's final warning echoed in his head: pass it on. If someone else sees the silhouette in a photo, the game moves to them. He didn't want to. But he had no other way out. So he met up with his co-worker, Matt. "Hey man, let's grab a quick pic," Luke said casually. Matt laughed, throwing an arm around Luke's shoulder. "Dude, since when do you take selfies?" Click. First photo, normal. Click. Second photo, the silhouette was behind Matt now. Matt frowned. Something wrong? Luke hesitated. His thumb hovered over the screen. Then, he turned the phone and showed Matt the picture. Matt's eyes widened. "What the hell is?" Click. The phone screen glitched out. The game had moved on. Luke exhaled sharply, his body relaxing for the first time in days. But then, he noticed something on his phone screen. A notification. File folder, new photo added to album. He tapped it with shaking fingers. It was another selfie. But this time, he wasn't in it. The Silhouette Game, Episode 3, The Missing Reflection. Day 1, the photo without him. Matt had always been skeptical about horror trends, but when Luke showed him the photo, he couldn't shake the sinking feeling in his stomach. Behind him, in the second photo, stood a faceless shadow. "Dude, what the hell is this?" Matt asked, trying to laugh it off. Luke forced a smile. "It's just a dumb challenge, man. Nothing serious." But Luke's eyes told a different story. Day 2, the first sign. That night, Matt was going through his phone when he saw a new notification. File folder, new photo added to album. He frowned and opened it. It was the selfie from earlier, but now, Luke was missing. It was just Matt standing alone, smiling, at something that wasn't there. His heart raced. He called Luke immediately. Straight to voicemail. Matt texted, "Dude, where are you?" No response. Day 3, the vanishing. Matt didn't hear from Luke all day. He asked around, but no one seemed to remember Luke at all. "Luke?" His co-worker raised an eyebrow. "Who's that?" Even worse, Matt checked his phone contacts. Luke's number was gone. And when he went to their chat history, the messages were blank. Matt's breath hitched. His best friend had just disappeared. Or maybe something had taken his place. Day 4, the mirror test. Desperate, Matt decided to retrace Luke's steps. He found the original challenge thread. One comment made his blood run cold: "If you've seen the shadow, you have 7 days. But if the person before you vanishes, check your reflection. If you're missing, it's already too late." Matt sprinted to his bathroom, flicked on the light, and stood before the mirror. His stomach dropped. His reflection was wrong. It moved a fraction of a second too late. And its lips curled into a smile. Matt wasn't smiling. Day 5, the voice in the static at 2:47 a.m., Matt woke up to the sound of static. His TV had turned on by itself. The screen flickered, the white noise humming through the dark room. And then, the static stopped. A distorted voice crackled through the speakers. "You can't hide from me." Matt smashed the remote, turning the TV off. But when the room went dark, he saw it. A silhouette. Standing in the reflection of the black screen. Day 6, the rule you can't break. Matt had spent the whole day researching. Trying to figure out what the hell was happening. Then he found it. A private deep web forum. A user had posted the rules of the silhouette game. Pushpin rule number 1, take 2 photos. Never delete them. Pushpin rule number 2, if you see the shadow, you must pass the game on. Pushpin rule number 3, if the person before you vanishes, you have already lost. Matt's stomach twisted. Luke had vanished. And that meant. Matt turned to his phone, fumbling to take a photo of himself. Click. First photo, normal. Click. Second photo, there was nothing behind him. Matt exhaled sharply, relief flooding his chest. But then, his screen glitched. The second photo changed. It was still him standing there. But his reflection was missing. Day 7, the last warning. Matt couldn't think. Couldn't breathe. His reflection was gone. That wasn't possible. He grabbed his phone and checked his photos again. A new one had appeared. It was his bedroom. Taken from the closet. His blood turned ice cold. Something was in there with him. Slowly, his eyes shifted toward the closet door. It was slightly ajar. And in the darkness, he saw something move. Click. His phone camera went off by itself. Matt looked down. File folder, new photo added to album. With shaking hands, he opened it. It was him. But the Matt in the photo was smiling. Matt wasn't smiling. His heart stopped as he realized the Matt in the photo was raising his hand. Waving. And behind him, the closet door was wide open. The Silhouette Game, Episode 4. The door left open. Day 1, the door that shouldn't be open. Matt didn't sleep that night. The photo, the one taken from inside his closet, was still open on his phone. The version of himself in the picture had waved. But Matt had never moved. And the worst part? In the background of the photo, the closet door had been wide open. But when Matt glanced up now, it was closed. Had it ever moved at all? His breathing was shaky as he reached for the closet handle. He yanked the door open. Nothing. Just his clothes. Just empty darkness. But then his phone buzzed again. File folder, new photo added to album. With trembling hands, Matt opened it. It was another picture of his room. This time, it had been taken from behind him. Day 2, the moving shadows. Matt spent the entire day avoiding mirrors. He knew something was wrong. Luke was gone, his reflection was missing, and now something was watching him. He tried to leave town. He packed a bag, booked a last-minute motel, and drove 2 hours away. But that night, when he checked into the room and turned on the bathroom light, the closet door was already open. Matt's blood ran cold. He hadn't touched it. Hadn't even walked past it. Then his phone screen flickered. File folder, new photo added to album. With a deep breath, he opened it. It was a selfie of him sleeping. Someone had taken it. Day 3, the voices start. Matt barely made it through the day. He couldn't eat, couldn't think straight. Something was wrong with reality. That night, at 2:47 a.m., his phone rang. The caller ID just said, unknown number. Hard hammering, Matt picked up. At first, there was just static. Then, a voice. A whisper. "Let me in." Matt dropped the phone. And from the corner of his room, in the shadows by the closet, he swore he saw something move. Day 4, the wrong reflection. Desperate, Matt tried to find help. He called old friends, co-workers, even went to his parents' house. But when he saw his mom's face, his stomach twisted. She looked confused. "Matt? What are you doing here?" she asked. His hands felt clammy. "Mom, what do you mean?" She gave him a nervous smile. "I thought you moved out years ago." Matt froze. "Mom, I've never lived anywhere else." She blinked. "That's not true. You left right after high school. We haven't seen you since." Matt took a step back, his head spinning. Was this real? Was she messing with him? But then from the hallway mirror, his reflection turned to look at him. Even though Matt hadn't moved. Day 5, the person wearing his face. Matt drove back home in a panic. He locked the doors, shut all the windows. But his phone kept buzzing. File folder, new photo added to album. He opened it with dread. It was a group photo. One from his high school graduation. One he remembered taking. Except this time, his face was wrong. The Matt in the photo had a blurred out smile. And everyone around him, their faces had turned to look directly at him. Day 6, the final warning. Matt didn't sleep. He barely even moved. He sat in the living room with his back to the wall, staring at the closet door. It wasn't open. Not yet. But he knew it would be. At exactly 2:47 a.m., his phone screen flickered on. File folder, new photo added to album. Matt stared at the notification, heart pounding. He didn't want to open it. Didn't want to see what was waiting. But his hand moved anyway. It was a photo of his living room. Taken from inside the closet. And in the bottom corner of the image, the closet door was starting to open. Day 7, the door that swallowed him. Matt had run out of time. He had two choices: pass the game on, face whatever was inside the closet. But who could he trick? Who could he sacrifice? His hands trembled as he grabbed his phone. File folder, new photo added to album. He hesitated. Then, slowly, he opened it. It was a live photo. A video, only a few seconds long. Matt hit play. The screen showed his own back. He was standing in his living room. And behind him, the closet door swung wide open. A shadow lunged out. Matt dropped the phone. His whole body went cold. The last thing he saw before the screen went black was his own reflection on the screen, smiling and whispering, "Your turn." The Silhouette Game, Episode 5. The Face in the Window. Day 1, the stranger in the glass. Logan never believed in ghost stories. He was the type to roll his eyes at horror movies and scoff at urban legends. But when he moved into his new apartment, something felt wrong. The place was modern, clean, well lit, nothing eerie about it. But on the first night, as he was unpacking, his phone buzzed. File folder, new photo added to album. He frowned. He hadn't taken any pictures. When he opened the gallery, his stomach dropped. It was a photo of his bedroom window. And in the reflection of the glass, there was a face staring at him. But Logan had been alone in the apartment. Day 2, the photo that shouldn't exist. Logan tried to shake it off. Maybe the previous tenant had left the photo on his phone somehow. Maybe it was a glitch. But the next night, it happened again. File folder, new photo added to album. This time, it was a picture of his kitchen. In the window's reflection, the same face was there closer this time. And worse, the reflection was inside the apartment now. Day 3, the rules appear freaked out. Logan dug through his phone, trying to find any logical explanation. That's when he stumbled upon a message thread from a deleted number. It was a list of rules. Pushpin rule number 1, if you receive a photo, do not delete it. Pushpin rule number 2, cover all windows and mirrors at night. Pushpin rule number 3, if the reflection moves on its own, you're running out of time. Logan's hands shook. At that moment, his phone buzzed again. File folder, new photo added to album. It was a selfie, taken from behind him. Day 4, the reflection moves first. Logan followed the rules. He covered all the windows and mirrors, trying to ignore the unease crawling up his spine. But that night, at 2:47 a.m., his phone vibrated violently on his nightstand. File folder, new photo added to album. Logan didn't want to open it, but he had to. It was another picture of his bedroom window. But this time, instead of the reflection, the glass was broken, as if something had stepped through. Day 5, the wrong voice. Logan decided he needed to get out of there. He packed his bag, grabbed his keys, and swung open his front door. Except he froze. Standing in the dimly lit hallway was himself. Logan, his exact face, his exact clothes, just standing there, staring. Then, the other Logan smiled and said, in a voice that was almost his own, "You forgot to close the window." Logan slammed the door shut. His phone buzzed. File folder, new photo added to album. He opened it. It was a live photo. The other Logan was still standing outside. But in the final frame, he was now smiling directly into the camera. Day 6, the last warning. Logan barricaded himself inside the apartment. He turned off his phone, taped every window shut, and refused to look at anything reflective. But as the hours dragged on, the knocking started. Soft at first, then louder. A slow, deliberate knock on his bedroom window. But that was impossible. His apartment was on the 5th floor. The knocking continued. Then, from outside, a voice spoke. His own voice. "Logan, let me in." Day 7, the only way out. Logan had read enough horror stories to know one thing: he couldn't let it in. But then his phone, which had been off, lit up. File folder, new photo added to album. His breath hitched. It was a live photo. He pressed play. The camera showed his bedroom door, and the handle was turning. Logan grabbed his phone and ran. He didn't stop, didn't look back. The last thing he heard before escaping into the night was the sound of a window sliding open. The Silhouette Game, Episode 6. The shadow that followed. Day 1, the escape that wasn't he. Logan didn't stop running. He left everything behind: his apartment, his belongings, even his phone. He just needed to get away. By the time he reached his friend Nate's place, the sun was rising. His lungs burned, his hands shook, but he felt safe. Until Nate opened the door and frowned. "Dude," Nate said, glancing behind Logan. "Who's that?" Logan turned sharply. There was no one there. Day 2, the camera knows. Logan didn't tell Nate the truth. He just muttered something about a stalker and crashed on the couch. But that night, when Nate was scrolling through his phone, he paused. "Hey, did you post this?" he asked, holding up his screen. Logan's blood ran cold. It was a photo of Nate's apartment, taken from outside the window. But it wasn't Logan who had taken it. Day 3, the sound in the walls. The next night, Logan woke up at 2:47 a.m. to a strange noise. A shuffling sound, like something crawling through the walls. His breath caught. He reached for his phone and turned on the flashlight, shining it toward the ceiling. A faint, slow knocking. From inside the walls. Then, his phone buzzed. File folder, new photo added to album. His shaking hands opened it. It was a black and white image. And in the shadows of the room, a shape was crouching near the wall. Watching. Day 4, the reflection that wasn't his. Logan stayed awake all night. The next morning, he avoided every mirror, every window. If he didn't see it, it couldn't see him. Or so he thought. While brushing his teeth, Nate suddenly froze. His toothbrush dropped into the sink. "Logan," he whispered. "Come here." Logan hesitated, then stepped into the bathroom. Nate pointed at the mirror. At first, Logan didn't understand. His reflection was there. But Nate's reflection was missing. Day 5, the knock at the door. Nate was panicked. He refused to look in any reflections, covering the mirrors with towels, checking his phone constantly. But that night, as they sat in the dimly lit apartment, there was a sudden knock at the door. Slow. Deliberate. 3 knocks. Neither of them moved. Then, from the other side of the door, came a voice. Logan's voice. "Let me in." Day 6, the shadows trick. Nate was unraveling fast. He hadn't spoken in hours, barely blinking, his hands twitching. Then, at exactly midnight, his phone vibrated. File folder, new photo added to album. Logan and Nate exchanged a look. Then Nate, with shaking hands, opened it. It was a photo of the two of them sitting in the living room. Except there was a third person in the picture. Someone standing right behind Nate. And they were smiling. Day 7, the last move. Logan finally understood. The shadow wasn't just watching anymore. It was choosing. One of them wouldn't make it past tonight. At 2:47 a.m., Logan's phone screen flickered. File folder, new photo added to album. This time, it was a video. Logan hesitated, then pressed play. The screen showed the front door. The peephole camera had recorded something. A person was standing outside. Not Nate. Not Logan. Someone who looked exactly like them. The figure slowly raised its hand. And waved. Then the video glitched out. And the knocking began again. The Silhouette Game, Episode 7. The Visitor at the Door. Day 1, the knocking continues. Logan and Nate sat frozen in the dark apartment, staring at the front door. The knocking hadn't stopped. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. Then silence. Then another 3 knocks. And worst of all, they both heard it this time. It wasn't just in Logan's head anymore. A voice, soft and distant, whispered from the other side of the door. "You left the window open." Nate clenched his fists. "We don't open it." But Logan's phone vibrated. A new photo. File folder, new photo added to album. Logan hesitated before opening it. It was a live photo. And when he pressed play, it showed the front door slowly unlocking by itself. Day 2, the thing in the hallway. They didn't sleep. They couldn't. The next morning, Logan peeked through the peephole. Nothing. The hallway was empty. Or so he thought until he checked his phone. File folder, new photo added to album. His stomach twisted. It was a photo taken from the peephole. And in the center of the image, blurred but unmistakable, stood a figure facing the door. Watching. But when Logan looked through the peephole again, the hallway was empty. Day 3, the wrong reflection. Nate had had enough. "I'm done," he snapped. "This is some sick prank, and I'm not playing." Logan tried to stop him, but Nate stormed to the bathroom and ripped the towel off the mirror. "See? Nothing," he shouted, pointing at his reflection. Logan exhaled in relief. Until Nate's reflection turned its head on its own. The real Nate hadn't moved. Then, slowly, the reflection smiled. Day 4, the name on the wall. Nate refused to look at the mirror again. That night, Logan woke up gasping. He had dreamed about the knocking, about the whispers through the door. But when he sat up, he saw something worse. There were words scratched onto the wall above Nate's bed. "Let me in." The letters were fresh. The paint was still peeling. And Nate was still asleep. Logan reached for his phone, trembling. File folder, new photo added to album. It was a photo of them sleeping. But there was a third person standing in the room. And this time, it was facing the camera. Day 5, the message from Luke. Logan was done running. He grabbed his phone, searching for answers. That's when he saw it. A new message. From a contact that shouldn't exist. Envelope with arrow. Luke, it won't stop. Don't let it in. Whatever you do, don't look it in the eyes. Logan's hands shook. Luke was gone. Luke didn't exist anymore. But his phone said the message had been sent 3 minutes ago. And then, another knock at the door. Day 6, the eyes in the dark. Nate was losing it. He wouldn't speak. Wouldn't eat. He just sat by the window, staring at the covered glass. Logan shook him. "Nate, talk to me." Nate didn't respond. Instead, he lifted a shaking hand and pointed to the window. Logan turned. The cloth covering the glass had a face pressing against it from the other side. 2 wide, unblinking eyes. Watching. Then, his phone vibrated. File folder, new photo added to album. He opened it. It was a close-up of the eyes. And in the reflection of their pupils, he saw himself. Day 7, the last attempt. Logan and Nate were out of time. At 2:47 a.m., the knocking turned to pounding. The voice outside the door hissed, "Let me in." Logan's phone screen glitched violently. A video file appeared. File folder, new video added to album. He tapped it. The screen showed the front door. The doorknob twisted, slowly turning. Then the door creaked open. The screen cut to black. And from behind them came a whisper. "You shouldn't have looked." The Silhouette Game, Episode 8. The one who entered Day 1, the door that opened. Logan couldn't breathe. The door had opened by itself. The pounding had stopped. But that didn't mean they were safe. Nate was trembling beside him, eyes locked on the doorway. The apartment beyond was pitch black, the kind of darkness that wasn't natural. Then, from the shadows, something stepped inside. Not walked. Not crawled. Stepped. Like it belonged there. Logan's phone buzzed. File folder, new photo added to album. With shaking fingers, he opened it. It was a photo of the room. And in the bottom corner, barely visible, a hand was reaching toward Nate's shoulder. Day 2, the shadow that moved. Nate wasn't the same after that night. He wouldn't speak. Wouldn't eat. Wouldn't blink. He just sat there, staring at the wall. But Logan noticed something worse. Nate's shadow didn't match his movements anymore. When Nate turned his head, the shadow hesitated before following. When Nate stood up, the shadow stayed sitting. And that night, Logan's phone vibrated. File folder, new photo added to album. It was a picture of Nate. But in the reflection of the window, his shadow was smiling. Day 3, the wrong Nate. Logan tried to snap Nate out of it. "Dude, talk to me. What the hell is happening to you?" Nate turned his head slowly, his face blank. His mouth opened. But the voice that came out wasn't his. "You let me in." Logan's stomach twisted. His hands shook. "Nate." Nate blinked once. Then smiled. And for the first time in 2 days, he spoke in his own voice. "What's wrong, bro?" As if nothing had happened. As if Logan had imagined everything. But Logan knew better. That wasn't Nate anymore. Day 4, the photo that shouldn't exist. Logan had a plan. He needed proof. That night, while Nate was sleeping, Logan grabbed his phone and snapped a photo. Click. First photo, normal. Click. Second photo, Logan's breath caught in his throat. The second image was not the same. Nate's sleeping body was still there. But in the second photo, his eyes were open. And staring directly at Logan. Day 5, the whisper in the dark. Logan didn't sleep. He didn't even turn the lights off. At 2:47 a.m., Nate's voice whispered from across the room. "Logan." Logan's blood turned to ice. Nate was asleep. He had seen him go to bed. Slowly, Logan turned his head. Nate was still lying on the couch. Eyes shut. Body completely still. But from the other side of the room, in the darkness, the voice came again. "Logan." Logan's phone vibrated violently. File folder, new photo added to album. His heart pounded as he opened it. It was a picture of his bedroom door. And it was wide open. Day 6, the thing in the window. Logan knew this was his last chance. He packed his bags. He needed to leave. Now. But as he stepped toward the door, Nate spoke. "Leaving already?" Logan turned, heart hammering. "Yeah, man. I need some air." Nate smiled. It was too wide. Too wrong. "I think you should stay." Logan gripped the doorknob. Nate didn't move. Just sat there, still smiling. Then Logan's phone vibrated. File folder, new photo added to album. He opened it. It was a photo of the window. His reflection was there. But Nate's was missing. Logan turned back to him. Nate was gone. Day 7, the one who took his place. Logan ran. He didn't care where, he just ran. But when he reached the street, he stopped. Someone was standing at the corner. It was Nate. Or at least, it looked like Nate. The same face. The same clothes. But the way he was standing, too stiff, too unnatural. And then Nate lifted his hand. And waved. Logan's phone vibrated. File folder, new photo added to album. He opened it. It was a picture of him. Standing exactly where he was right now. Except in the photo, there was someone standing behind him. Silhouette Game, Episode 9, the reflection that stayed. Day 1, the wrong reflection. Logan couldn't move. The photo on his phone showed his own back, standing exactly where he was. And behind him, a shadowy figure. Too tall. Too thin. Too close. His breath came in shallow gasps. He turned around, heart pounding. Nothing. But then he saw the storefront window beside him. His reflection was still staring at the phone. Even though he had already looked away. Day 2, the person in the mirror. Logan needed answers. He locked himself in a motel room, covering every reflective surface. But at 2:47 a.m., he woke up to a soft tapping. Not at the door. At the bathroom mirror. Slowly, he peeled back the towel covering it. His reflection stood there. But it wasn't following his movements. It was smiling. Then Logan's phone buzzed. File folder, new photo added to album. The image was a live photo. With shaking hands, he pressed play. The reflection in the mirror turned and walked away. Even though Logan was still standing there. Day 3, the stranger who knew his name. Logan spent the whole day avoiding mirrors. Avoiding screens. But when he went out to grab coffee, a barista frowned at him. "Hey, weren't you just here?" Logan's stomach dropped. No. I just got here. The barista looked confused. But you came in like 20 minutes ago. Ordered the same thing. Even said your name. Logan's fingers tightened around the counter. Then his phone vibrated. File folder, new photo added to album. His hands trembled as he opened it. It was a photo of him. Sitting at a table. Drinking coffee. Taken 20 minutes ago. Day 4, the silent call that night, Logan's phone rang. No caller ID. He hesitated, then picked up. For a moment, there was nothing. Then, a distorted voice. Familiar. His own voice. Where are you? It whispered. Logan's throat went dry. His hands shook. Stop running. You already let me in. The call ended. His phone screen glitched, and a new file appeared. File folder, new video added to album. Logan tapped it with shaking fingers. The screen showed a dark alley. The camera was moving. Like someone was walking towards something. And then, just before the video cut to black, a reflection appeared in a puddle on the ground. Not of the person filming. Of Logan. Day 5, the message from himself. Logan had no idea where to go. He barely knew what was real anymore. Then his phone pinged with a new text. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, check the mirror. Logan's breathing quickened. Another message appeared. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, you need to see it? He didn't want to. But his hands moved on their own, peeling back the towel over the motel mirror. His reflection stood there. Motionless. Then, it lifted a hand. And pointed. At the closet behind him. Day 6, the closet door. Logan's instincts screamed not to turn around. His phone vibrated violently. File folder, new photo added to album. His breath hitched. It was a photo of his motel room. From inside the closet. His hands clenched into fists. The doorknob slowly twisted. Logan grabbed his phone and ran out of the motel without looking back. Day 7, the final warning. Logan was out of time. As he stumbled through the empty streets, his phone screen glitched violently. A video began playing on its own. The screen showed a live feed of where he was standing. And in the frame, someone was standing behind him. Too tall. Too thin. Too close. Logan's blood ran ice cold. He turned around, nothing. His phone buzzed one last time. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, you looked. And then the screen went black. The Silhouette Game, Episode 10, the one who wore my face. Day 1, the person who wasn't me. Logan's phone was dead. Completely black. But when he lifted his head, his blood ran cold. Across the empty street, under a flickering streetlight, stood himself. Same hoodie. Same posture. Same terrified expression. The other Logan tilted his head just slightly. And then he raised his hand and waved. Logan turned and ran. Day 2, the video that shouldn't exist. Logan locked himself in a new motel room, barricading the door with a chair. His phone, which had been dead, turned on by itself. A video was waiting. File folder, new video added to album. With trembling hands, he pressed play. The footage showed himself, standing in the motel room. Except the Logan on the screen wasn't holding a phone. And then, slowly, he turned to look at the camera. Day 3, the call from my own number. Logan didn't sleep. Couldn't. At 2:47 a.m., his phone rang. The caller ID made his stomach drop. Telephone receiver, incoming call. Logan, me, his own number. Calling him. His hands trembled as he answered. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, a voice whispered, I'm getting closer. Logan hung up and threw his phone across the room. Day 4, the reflection that left me behind. The next morning, Logan avoided every reflective surface. But when he walked past the motel's glass lobby doors, something caught his eye. His reflection. It had stopped walking. Logan turned around, heart hammering. But his reflection stayed frozen. Then, it smiled. And stepped away, vanishing from the glass. Day 5, the stranger who knew my secrets. Logan decided to leave the city. He bought a bus ticket, kept his head down. At the station, a woman bumped into him. "Oh, sorry Logan, right?" Logan stiffened. He didn't know her. She smiled. "We talked yesterday, remember?" His stomach turned. I think you have me confused with someone else." Her smile faltered. "No, I swear. You were wearing that." She pointed to his hoodie. Logan's blood ran cold. He had bought this hoodie this morning. Day 6, the room that wasn't empty. Logan found another motel, exhausted, mind unraveling. He locked the door. Closed the curtains. Then his phone buzzed. File folder, new photo added to album. He hesitated. Opened it. It was a picture of his motel room. Taken from inside the closet. His breath caught. Slowly, he turned his head toward the closet door. It was wide open. Day 7, the last warning. At 2:47 a.m., Logan's phone screen glitched violently. A new video file appeared. File folder, new video added to album. It was live footage. Showing himself, asleep in bed. Except, Logan wasn't asleep. He was wide awake. Holding his phone. Watching the video. And in the footage, the sleeping Logan slowly opened his eyes. And smiled. Then his phone buzzed one last time. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, you should have never looked. The screen went black. And behind him, the closet door creaked open. The Silhouette Game, Episode 11, the door that shouldn't open. Day 1, the thing in the closet. Logan couldn't move. The closet door was creaking open. Slowly. The room was silent except for his own ragged breathing. His phone screen had gone black, but he could still see the message, envelope with arrow, unknown number, you should have never looked. The door opened wider. Logan's fingers trembled as he reached for his phone's flashlight. He had to see. Had to know. He lifted the light and something moved inside. Day 2, the wrong footsteps. Logan left the motel. Didn't pack. Didn't look back. He walked all night, only stopping when the sun finally rose. Maybe daylight would keep it away. Then he heard them. Footsteps. Not behind him. Not ahead. Beside him. Keeping pace. Logan turned his head slowly. There was no one there. But in the reflection of a store window, someone was walking next to him. And they were smiling. Day 3, the face in the TV. Logan found a diner, hoping to stay around people, stay visible. The TV behind the counter played some old movie, the sound barely audible. But then the screen glitched. Static crackled, and suddenly, the channel changed. The TV now showed live footage of the diner. Logan's stomach twisted. It was showing him sitting at the counter. Then, in the TV's reflection, someone else was sitting next to him. But when Logan turned his head, the stool was empty. Day 4, the voice in the static. Logan checked into a different motel, leaving the TV off. Didn't trust it? At 2:47 a.m., his phone rang. Telephone receiver, incoming call, unknown. Logan hesitated. His throat was dry. Then, the ringing stopped. The room fell deathly silent. Then, from the dark screen of his phone, a voice whispered, "You can't run forever." The call ended. His phone screen glitched. File folder, new photo added to album. His hands shook as he opened it. It was a photo of his motel bed. And there was someone lying under the covers. But Logan hadn't gotten into bed yet. Day 5, the man at the window. Logan didn't sleep. Couldn't. At sunrise, he gathered his things and moved again. New location. New city. He needed to keep moving. That night, as he checked into yet another motel, he asked for a second-floor room. No windows near the ground. Nothing could look inside. Or so he thought. At 3:33 a.m., Logan's phone buzzed. File folder, new photo added to album. He opened it. It was a picture of his motel room. Taken from outside his window. But his room was on the second floor. Then, from outside the glass, something knocked. Day 6, the reflection that spoke. Logan taped a towel over the mirror. Shut the curtains tight. No more windows. No more reflections. But he still felt watched. Then, at midnight, the towel covering the mirror slipped to the floor. Logan's heart pounded. He didn't want to look. But in the mirror, his reflection wasn't copying him. It was closer to the glass. And then, it moved its lips. No sound came out. But Logan could read the words, "Let me in." Day 7, the final message. Logan was done running. At 2:47 a.m., his phone vibrated violently. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, it's your turn now. Then, a new file appeared. File folder, new video added to album. Logan pressed play, his breath hitching. The screen showed live footage of his motel room door. The handle turned. Slowly. Deliberately. The door creaked open, inch by inch. The video glitched. Then, the last frame appeared, a close-up of Logan's own face. But the Logan on the screen was smiling. The real Logan wasn't. Then the screen went black. And from behind him, the closet door creaked open. The Silhouette Game, Episode 12. The hand that reached out. Day 1, the thing that stepped out. Logan's body refused to move. The closet door was fully open now, revealing pure darkness. Then, something stepped out. Not a person. Not an animal. A shape, tall and thin, blacker than the shadows around it. Logan's fingers fumbled for his phone, desperate to turn on the flashlight. His screen flickered to life. File folder, new photo added to album. He didn't want to open it. But his hands moved on their own. It was a picture of his motel room. And in the corner of the image, the shape was standing behind him. Day 2, the wrong reflection. Logan didn't sleep. He sat in the farthest corner of the room, phone clutched in his hands. At sunrise, he stumbled into the bathroom, splashing cold water on his face. Then, he made a mistake. He looked up at the mirror. His reflection was still looking down. Logan's stomach twisted. Slowly, his reflection lifted its head and smiled. Then his phone vibrated. File folder, new photo added to album. It was another picture of himself. This time, his reflection had moved closer to the glass. Day 3, the whispering door. Logan checked out of the motel. Kept moving. But that night, in a new place, the whispers started. They came from the closet. Low. Insistent. Let me in. Logan pressed his hands against his ears, heart hammering. It wasn't real. It couldn't be real. Then, from his phone, envelope with arrow, unknown number, you already did. The closet door rattled. And the whisper came again. Let me in. Day 4, the hand in the dark. Logan was out of options. At exactly 2:47 a.m., his phone buzzed violently. File folder, new photo added to album. He swallowed hard and opened it. The image was pitch black. But when he turned up the brightness, he saw it. A hand. Long fingers, stretching out from the darkness. Reaching for the camera. Logan threw the phone across the room. The closet door creaked open. Just an inch. Day 5, the call from nowhere. Logan sat against the door, blocking it with his weight. No sleep. No escape. Then his phone rang. Telephone receiver, incoming call, unknown. He hesitated, then answered. At first, only silence. Then, his own voice. Why are you running? Logan's breath hitched. Then, softer, you let me in. He hung up. But the moment he did, a new message appeared. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, check your window. Logan turned and someone was standing outside. Watching. Day 6, the name on the wall. Logan couldn't take it anymore. He grabbed a marker and scrawled across the motel wall, I am real. Maybe if he wrote it, if he saw it, he'd believe it. But that night, when he woke up, the wall had changed. The letters were still there. But now, they said, no, you're not. Logan's pulse thundered. His phone vibrated. File folder, new photo added to album. It was another picture of the motel room. But this time, there were two Logans. Day 7, the final warning. At 2:47 a.m., the whispers stopped. The knocking stopped. Even the air felt wrong. Then, Logan's phone screen flickered. File folder, new video added to album. With shaking hands, he played it. The screen showed a live feed of his motel room. His bed. His door. His reflection in the mirror. And then, the reflection stepped forward. Out of the mirror. Into the room. Logan's breath caught in his throat. The video glitched violently. Then, a final message appeared. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, you should have never played. And behind him, something whispered his name. The Silhouette Game, Episode 13. The shadow that wore my skin. Day 1, the whisper behind me. Logan didn't turn around. The whisper had come from right behind his ear. But he was alone in the motel room. Or at least, he was supposed to be. His phone buzzed violently in his hand. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, stop running. It's your turn now. A new file appeared. File folder, new video added to album. His breath hitched. The video showed his motel room. But the bed wasn't empty. There was a shape under the covers. Something breathing. And slowly, the blanket began to move. Day 2, the wrong skin. Logan left the motel before dawn. New city. New name. No mirrors. No reflections. But he made a mistake. At a gas station, he caught a glimpse of himself in the security monitor. And his stomach turned to ice. The man on the screen was wearing his clothes. His hoodie. His jeans. But the skin was wrong. Too tight. Too pale. Too thin. Then, his reflection grinned at him. Logan stumbled back, knocking over a display of snacks. When he looked again, the reflection was gone. Day 3, the stranger who knew my name. At a diner, Logan kept his head down, avoiding every screen, every window. Then the waitress smiled at him. Back again. Logan froze. What? You were here last night, she said. Same seat. Same order. His hands trembled. No, I wasn't. She gave him a confused look. Then, her face went pale. Logan followed her gaze to the security camera feed on the wall. And there he was. Sitting in the same booth. Smiling directly at the camera. But Logan hadn't been there. Day 4, the shadow that followed Logan rented a cheap apartment. No windows. No mirrors. No screens. That night, at exactly 2:47 a.m., his phone vibrated. File folder, new photo added to album. He hesitated, then opened it. It was a picture of his apartment door. Taken from the inside. But Logan hadn't taken it. Then he saw it. A shadow, just outside the door. Tall. Watching. Then. The doorknob turned. Day 5, the thing in the dark. Logan blocked the door with furniture, heart pounding. Then his phone vibrated again. File folder, new photo added to album. It was a live photo. He pressed play. The screen showed his apartment hallway. Then, in the dim light, a shape moved. A hand pressed against the peephole. Then, a voice. Logan, open the door. His own voice. Day 6, the name on the mirror. Logan refused to leave the apartment. He stayed awake, waited for sunrise. But when morning came, something was wrong. The walls had changed. There was writing now, scrawled across the surface in deep, jagged letters. I am you. Logan stumbled back, his breath shallow. Then, his phone vibrated. File folder, new photo added to album. It was a picture of the apartment. And in the center of the room, two Logans stood side by side. Day 7, the face in the dark. At 2:47 a.m., Logan's phone glitched. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, it's time. A new video file appeared. File folder, new video added to album. With trembling hands, he played it. The screen showed his own apartment. The lights were off. Then, slowly, a figure stepped into frame. It looked like him. But its face was missing. Just smooth, empty skin where eyes, nose, and a mouth should be. Then, it tilted its head. And took a step forward. The video cut to black. Then his phone vibrated one last time. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, see you soon. And from inside the room, something breathed. At game, episode 14, the one who spoke with my voice. Day 1, the whisper in the dark. Logan didn't breathe. Didn't blink. The whisper was coming from inside the room. He turned his head, slowly. Nothing. Then his phone vibrated. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, it's time to switch. His hands trembled. Switch. Switch with what? A new file appeared. File folder, new video added to album. It was a live feed. Of himself. Standing in the middle of the room. But Logan was sitting down. The video glitched. Then, the Logan in the video turned to look at the camera. And grinned. Day 2, the stranger in my skin. Logan ran. Didn't care where. Didn't look back. But no matter how far he went, the texts kept coming. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, why are you running from yourself? Envelope with arrow, unknown number, come back. It's better this way. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, I'll show you. Then, his phone vibrated one more time. File folder, new photo added to album. It was a picture of himself. But the version in the photo didn't have eyes. Day 3, the reflection that stayed. Logan found an abandoned house and locked himself inside. No mirrors. No screens. No phones. For the first time in weeks, he felt safe. Until he turned a corner and saw himself standing there. Not a reflection. Not a shadow. A perfect copy. Smiling. It lifted a hand and waved. Then, softly, in his own voice, Logan, it's time. Day 4, the voice in the walls. Logan locked himself in a room. Blocked the door. But then, The walls started whispering. His own voice, layered, overlapping. Let me in. It's okay. It's okay. Let me in. His phone, which he had turned off, suddenly lit up. Envelope with arrow unknown number, you're making this harder than it needs to be. File folder new video added to album. It was live footage of the other Logan, standing right outside the door. Day 5, the shadow that touched me. 2:47 a.m, the whispers stopped. Logan thought he had won. Then, something touched his shoulder. He turned, heart pounding. Nothing was there. His phone vibrated. File folder new photo added to album. It was a picture of his own back, taken from right behind him. His hands shook violently. Then, in the corner of the room, he saw it. A dark shape. Watching. Day 6, the choice I didn't make. Logan had nowhere left to run. At sunrise, he made a choice. He turned on his phone. Sent a message. Envelope with arrow. Logan, what do you want? The reply was instant. Envelope with arrow unknown number, to be you. Then, another text. Envelope with arrow unknown number, it's already happening. His breath caught. Already happening? File folder new photo added to album. Logan opened it. It was a photo of himself, sleeping peacefully in bed. But Logan wasn't asleep. Day 7, the final warning. Logan had one last chance. At 2:47 a.m, his phone vibrated violently. Envelope with arrow unknown number, time's up. File folder new video added to album. The footage was live. It showed his own face. But the Logan in the video was looking straight at him. Then, the screen glitched violently. And the last frame appeared, a dark, empty room. No Logan. No shadow. No one left at all. The screen flickered once more. Then, the final message appeared, envelope with arrow unknown number, see you soon. And from behind him, a voice whispered in his own voice, thank you. The Silhouette Game, Episode 15. The one who took my place. Day 1, the stranger in the mirror. Logan woke up gasping. His body felt wrong. Like he wasn't entirely inside it. Then he noticed the mirror across the room. His reflection was already standing, watching him, waiting. His phone vibrated. Envelope with arrow unknown number, you are me now. Logan scrambled backward. No. This wasn't real. But then, his reflection smiled first. Day 2, the life that wasn't mine. Logan left the apartment, but something felt off. People were staring, like they recognized him. A barista smiled. Hey, welcome back. Same order. Logan had never been there before. He backed away. Something was wrong. His phone buzzed again. Envelope with arrow unknown number, you're doing great. Envelope with arrow unknown number, I almost had it last time. Envelope with arrow unknown number, this time, you won't escape. Day 3, the glitch in reality. Logan tried to call someone, anyone. No one picked up. Then, the streets shifted. For a second, everything froze. People stopped mid-step. Cars hovered motionless. Then they snapped back into motion. But Logan noticed something else. Somewhere in the crowd, someone was standing completely still. And they were staring at him. Day 4, the photo that shouldn't exist. Logan checked his phone. A new photo. File folder new photo added to album. He hesitated, then opened it. It was a picture of himself, taken from behind, in the middle of a crowded street. But Logan hadn't taken it. Then he saw the timestamp. The photo had been taken 3 minutes into the future. Day 5, the reflection that didn't leave. Logan was done running. He locked himself in a motel room. Boarded up the mirrors. Shut off his phone. But at 2:47 a.m., something knocked. Not at the door. At the bathroom mirror. Logan's breath hitched. No. Slowly, he peeled back the tape covering the glass. His reflection was there. But it wasn't mimicking him anymore. It raised a hand. And placed it against the glass. A crack spread outward from the touch. Day 6, the call from myself at dawn, Logan's phone powered on by itself. Telephone receiver incoming call, Logan, me, his stomach twisted. No. No, no, no. The call connected. Silence. Then, his own voice. I see you. His breath caught. The voice was inside the room. The closet door creaked open. Something stepped out. Day 7, the final choice. Logan had nowhere left to go. At 2:47 a.m., his phone vibrated violently. Envelope with arrow unknown number, it's time. File folder new video added to album. With shaking hands, he played it. The screen showed live footage of his room. But the video had two Logans. One, sitting frozen on the bed. The other, standing in the darkness. Then, the standing Logan tilted his head. And whispered, "Who do you think is real?" The video glitched violently. And Logan's screen went black. Then, the last message appeared, envelope with arrow unknown number, choose. And from behind him, two voices spoke at the same time. Choose. The Silhouette Game, Episode 16. The one who answered day 1, the choice that wasn't mine. Logan didn't turn around. He couldn't. Two voices, identical to his own, whispered behind him, choose. But what was he choosing? His phone vibrated violently. Envelope with arrow unknown number, only one of you gets to leave. Then, a new video appeared. File folder new video added to album. It was live footage. Showing himself. And the second Logan. Then, the second Logan turned to the camera and grinned. Day 2, the one who spoke first. Logan finally turned around. And he saw himself. Two identical versions, standing in the dim light. The other Logan smiled. Too wide. Too wrong. You know what to do, it whispered. The real Logan's throat tightened. No. The other Logan cocked its head. Then I'll do it for you. And then it lunged. Day 3, the fight against myself. Logan barely dodged in time. The other version of himself was stronger. Faster. He slammed into the wall, knocking over a lamp. His phone buzzed again. Envelope with arrow unknown number, don't let it touch you. Logan's pulse pounded. He scrambled to his feet, hard hammering. The other Logan stood slowly, its head twitching at an unnatural angle. Then, it whispered, "You're wasting time." Day 4, the shadow that swallowed me. Logan grabbed his phone and ran. Didn't look back. He bolted for the bathroom, slammed the door shut, locked it. Then, silence. For a moment, he thought he was safe. Until the lights flickered off. The mirror in front of him rippled. Like liquid glass. Then, a hand reached through. His own hand. But the skin was too dark, too distorted, a perfect shadow version. And it grabbed his wrist. Day 5, the pull from the other side. Logan screamed. The hand yanked, pulling him toward the mirror. His reflection in the glass was warped, twisted, wrong. He fought back, clawing at the sink, kicking against the pull. Then, his phone vibrated violently. Envelope with arrow unknown number, break the glass. Now. Logan grabbed the lamp and smashed the mirror. The reflection let out a sound, not a scream, but something deeper, more hollow. And then, it was gone. Day 6, the world that didn't feel right. Logan stumbled back, breathing hard. The lights flickered back on. Everything looked normal. But something felt off. He stepped out of the bathroom cautiously. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Then, his phone buzzed again. Envelope with arrow unknown number, are you sure you're the one who made it back? Logan's stomach dropped. He turned to the mirror shards on the floor. And in one of them, the reflection was still watching him. And it smiled. Day 7, the final warning at 2:47 a.m., Logan's phone vibrated one last time. Envelope with arrow unknown number, you don't belong here, file folder, new photo added to album. Logan's hands trembled as he opened it. It was a picture of his own bed. But in the photo, someone was already lying in it. And Logan was still standing. Then the last message appeared, envelope with arrow unknown number, time's up. The lights went out. And from the darkness, a voice whispered in his own voice, welcome back. The Silhouette Game, Episode 17, The One Who Stayed. Day 1, the room that wasn't mine. Logan woke up with a jolt. But something was wrong. This wasn't his apartment. The walls were the same color, the furniture in the right places, but it felt off. Then, his phone buzzed. Envelope with arrow unknown number, you should have never left. A new file appeared. File folder, new video added to album. With shaking hands, Logan pressed play. It was a live feed of himself, sleeping peacefully in bed. But Logan was awake. Then, the Logan in the video slowly opened his eyes. Day 2, the stranger with my face. Logan ran. He bolted out the apartment door, down the stairs, out onto the street. But the city was different. The buildings looked slightly wrong. The sky was a shade darker than it should be. Then he saw someone across the street. Someone wearing his clothes. Someone with his face. And they were watching him. Logan's breath hitched. No. Then, the other Logan smiled. And started walking toward him. Day 3, the wrong reflection. Logan ducked into a gas station, heart racing. He needed to know. Was he still real? He found a small mirror near the back. His reflection was there. But it didn't move when he did. Instead, it raised a hand and pressed it against the glass. Then, it mouthed two words. Let me. Logan backed away. The reflection smiled. And behind him, someone whispered his name. Day 4, the place that didn't exist. Logan tried to leave the city. But every road led back to where he started. His phone buzzed. Envelope with arrow unknown number, there is no way out. Envelope with arrow unknown number, you belong here now. A new image appeared. File folder, new photo added to album. It was a picture of him, standing in the middle of the street, with no one else around. Then he looked up, and realized, the city was empty. Day 5, the only one left. No people. No cars. No sound. Logan walked for hours. Nothing changed. Then, at exactly 2:47 a.m., a street light flickered. His phone vibrated. Envelope with arrow unknown number, turn around. His body locked up. Then, slowly, he turned. The other Logan was standing there. And this time, there were others behind him. Copies. Hundreds of them. All smiling. Day 6, the ones who waited, they didn't move. Didn't blink. Just stood there. Smiling. Then, all at once, they spoke in unison. You left. We stayed. Logan's pulse thundered in his ears. You belong here now. Then, the first Logan, his copy, stepped forward. You shouldn't have tried to leave. Logan ran. Day 7, the final warning: the city was a maze. No escape. Every alley led back to where he started. At 2:47 a.m., Logan's phone vibrated for the last time. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, come back to where it started. His breath hitched. The apartment. He ran. Burst through the door. The room was waiting. His bed. His walls. His old life. And sitting on the bed was himself. Smiling. Logan stepped closer. His copy patted the mattress. It's okay. Just lay down. Logan's phone vibrated. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, make the right choice. The other Logan's smile widened. It's your turn now. Then, the lights flickered off. And the last thing Logan heard was his own voice, whispering, "Thank you." The Silhouette Game, Episode 18. The one who didn't leave. Day 1, the bed that wasn't mine. Logan's body felt heavy. The air was thick, pressing against his chest. He was lying in bed. But it didn't feel like his bed. Then, a voice whispered, "You came back." Logan's eyes shot open. The room was dark. Too dark. His phone vibrated. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, you should have run. Then, a hand pressed against his chest. And it wasn't his. Day 2, the shadow that breathed. Logan tried to move. He couldn't. A weight pressed him into the mattress. Then, in the corner of the room, something shifted. Not footsteps. Not a creak. Just movement. Then, a breath. A slow, rattling exhale. Right next to his ear. His phone buzzed again. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, it's still inside. Then, something pressed against his face. Soft. Cold. Damp. Like skin. Day 3, the face that wasn't mine. Logan broke free. He bolted upright, gasping for air, shoving whatever was touching him off the bed. The room was empty. Or, it looked empty. Then, he turned toward the mirror. And he saw it. The reflection was still lying in bed, watching him. And it whispered, "Stay." Day 4, the room that was watching. Logan tried to leave. The door wouldn't open. His hands trembled as he turned back to the bed. The blanket was pulled up like someone was still under it. His phone vibrated. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, don't look. Logan looked. The blanket sank down. Something invisible shifted beneath it. And the whisper came again. "Stay." Day 5, the video that shouldn't exist. Logan's phone lit up on its own. File folder, new video added to album. With shaking hands, he opened it. The footage showed his own room. His bed. His mirror. His door. Then, the camera tilted. The video was being recorded from under the blanket. Something was watching him. From right next to him. Then, the video glitched. And a final frame appeared, Logan. Sleeping peacefully. But Logan wasn't asleep. Day 6, the reflection that reached out. Logan covered the mirror. Didn't want to see it. At 2:47 a.m., the room went cold. Then, a whisper, "You never left." Logan clenched his fists. "I did. I made it out." The whisper laughed. Slow. Low. Familiar. His phone buzzed. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, check the mirror. Logan's stomach dropped. The sheet covering the mirror was moving. Something underneath it was pressing against the glass. Day 7, the final warning. At 2:47 a.m., Logan's phone vibrated one last time. Envelope with arrow, unknown number, it's waiting. File folder, new photo added to album. With trembling hands, he opened it. It was a picture of his own bed. But this time, there were two shapes under the blanket. Then, the final message appeared, envelope with arrow unknown number, go to sleep. The lights went out. And from the darkness, a voice whispered in his own voice, stay. The Silhouette Game, Episode 19. The one who slept. Day 1, the bed that held me. Logan couldn't move. He wasn't paralyzed. He was being held down. The weight on his chest wasn't just pressure. It was something. Something breathing. Something waiting. His phone vibrated. Envelope with arrow unknown number, don't fight it. Then, the blanket shifted. And his hand slid out from under it. Day 2, the voice that spoke my name. Logan finally broke free. He leapt from the bed, gasping for air. The blanket lay undisturbed. Like no one had ever been under it. But he knew better. Then, from the shadows of the room, a voice whispered his name. Soft. Familiar. His phone buzzed again. Envelope with arrow unknown number, it's almost time. Then, the whisper spoke again. Come back to bed. Day 3, the one in the dark. Logan refused to look. He stumbled toward the door, yanking it open. But the hallway beyond was wrong. The lights flickered in slow motion. The walls stretched into a dark, endless tunnel. And in the distance, a shadow moved. Walking toward him. Steady. Patient. Then, Logan's phone buzzed. Envelope with arrow unknown number, go back inside. The shadow stopped. Waiting. Day 4, the one who left. Logan turned back to the room. It was normal again. The bed. The walls. The faint glow of the bedside lamp. But something was missing. Him. There was no mirror. No reflection. Like he was never meant to see himself again. His phone buzzed. Envelope with arrow unknown number, that wasn't you. Logan swallowed hard. Then who was it? No reply. Day 5, the one who watched. Logan left the room. This time, for good. He stepped into the city. Felt the air on his skin. Maybe he had made it out. Maybe it was over. Then, he saw a security camera mounted on a streetlight. And its screen was showing live footage. A room. A bed. And someone still lying under the blanket. Then, the screen flickered. The person in bed turned their head toward the camera. And Logan felt something watching him. From inside his own skin. Day 6, the reflection that returned. Logan stopped at a storefront. The glass showed his reflection. It moved with him. Perfectly. No delay. No lag. No wrongness. Then, he blinked. And his reflection didn't. His phone vibrated violently. Envelope with arrow unknown number, look away. But Logan couldn't. Because his reflection was smiling. And whispering words he couldn't hear. Day 7, the final sleep. At 2:47 a.m., Logan's phone vibrated for the last time. Envelope with arrow unknown number, you should rest. File folder. New photo added to album. With trembling hands, he opened it. It was a picture of his own face. Eyes closed. At peace. Sleeping. His hands began to shake. Then, his phone screen flickered. A new message appeared. Envelope with arrow unknown number, go to sleep, Logan. The lights went out. And from the darkness, a whisper in his own voice, good night. The Silhouette Game, Episode 20, Finale, the one who woke up. Day 1, the dream that wasn't he. Logan opened his eyes. He was in bed. But something felt wrong. His phone was in his hand. The screen was on. Envelope with arrow unknown number, wake up. He sat up slowly. Was it over? Then, the door creaked. And someone walked in. It was himself. Smiling. Day 2, the one who spoke first. The other Logan sat on the edge of the bed. "You took too long," it said. In his voice. Logan's breath caught. Too long for what? His copy sighed. Almost disappointed. To leave. The room felt smaller. The walls pressed in. Then, Logan's phone vibrated. Envelope with arrow unknown number, "You are still inside?" His stomach dropped. The other Logan smiled wider. Day 3, the mirror that lied. Logan ran to the bathroom. Locked the door. He needed proof. Something real. He turned to the mirror. His reflection wasn't looking at him. Instead, it was staring past him. At something right behind him. Logan turned slowly. The bathroom was empty. Then, his reflection whispered, "You should have stayed asleep." And its hand pressed against the glass. The mirror cracked. Day 4, the one who waited. Logan forced himself to breathe. The mirror was just a reflection. Wasn't it? Then, his phone vibrated. Envelope with arrow unknown number, "Look at the bed." Logan didn't want to. But he did. And there, beneath the blanket, something was breathing. Something that looked like him. Then, the blanket shifted. And his eyes opened. Day 5, the choice that wasn't mine. Logan stumbled back, heart hammering. The Logan in bed. The Logan in the mirror. Which one was real? Then, the final message came. Envelope with arrow unknown number, "Choose." The Logan in bed reached out. Smiling. The Logan in the mirror pressed harder against the glass. Waiting. And Logan understood. Only one of them could leave. Day 6, the final decision. The walls closed in. The air grew heavy. The whispers surrounded him. Choose. 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 Logan clenched his fists. It wasn't fair. But it wasn't his choice. Then, the Logan in the mirror tilted his head. And said, "It's already done." Logan's vision blurred. His body felt weightless. And the world faded to black. Day 7, the one who woke up. Sunlight streamed through the window. Logan opened his eyes. He was in bed. His bed. His real bed. He sat up slowly. The air felt normal. His phone was next to him. Envelope with arrow unknown number, "Welcome back." Was it over? Then, he looked at the mirror across the room. And saw the fingerprints pressed against the glass. His own fingerprints. From the other side.